Let's talk about it with someone who has the experience. General Wesley Clark was the NATO Supreme Allied Commander during the war in Kosovo and also supervised a no-fly zone over Iraq. General Clark, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
I am one of those who said earlier in the week, and our viewers might remember, yeah, put a no-fly zone over Libya. How hard can it be? It is very difficult, as you have said.
It's tricky, yeah, but the most important thing is, first, know where we're going with the policy. Are we trying to get rid of Gaddafi? What's the basis for that? Do we have international consensus? Do we have international law on our side? Is the no-fly zone just the first step, or is it the last step? Because once you put it in there, and you can put it in there, and we can enforce it, and we can do it safely, and yes, it's a big country, but it's all technically doable. Then the question is, well, what if he attacks the rebels and wipes them out without using aircraft? Are we going to get in there and help the rebels then on the ground? So it's a slippery slope into a much larger commitment.
In other words, you could wind up, sending an aircraft after tanks and so forth, and then essentially you've got the United States or NATO at war with Libya.
Well, that's exactly right. And then if you send the airplanes after the tanks or after the helicopters and you're not totally successful, and you may get a tremendous surge of support for the rebels out of this. It may be all they need to tip it in their favor, but on the other hand, if it doesn't, then the next thing is send in the Marines, because you can't afford to lose at that point. That's like the United States versus Gaddafi. We're not going to lose to Gaddafi if we commit our forces. We're not going to do that. So it's an open-ended commitment. You've got to know where you're headed. You've got to make sure you've got all the international consensus, and then you got to go with that's what the decision is.
And again, in talking about how difficult this might be, we all remember Captain Scott O'Grady, the naval commander, who was shot down over Bosnia, wasn't it, in '95? That was patrolling the no-fly zone.
Yeah, Air Force officer, but he wasn't. We didn't do it the way Secretary Gates suggested. We actually had an agreement with the Serbs, a sort of tacit agreement. We didn't take out their air defense. They had their air defense. The thing was, if they turned on their tracking radars and then launch radar, then we took evasive action. So we were basically flirting with danger without having done the takedown, complete takedown of the Bosnian Serb anti-aircraft defenses there.
Right.
So we took a higher risk. Scott O'Grady got caught. But, that's just one step along the way. So it's not just the risk to the air crews. It's really the overall, you're committing the prestige of the United States of America and NATO against Gaddafi. Better be sure we're prepared to take this all the way with all of the consequences in the region, with other people saying this is the United States attacking an Arab state, a third war, what the impact would be on other countries, the use the Iranians would make of it, and so forth. So there's a lot to work through on this. It starts with going down the diplomatic route, getting a UN Security Council resolution that authorizes all necessary means, and then working on the humanitarian side, and then assembling the forces, and then working it behind the scenes.
Not an easy thing to do with the snap of a finger, that's for sure. General Wesley Clark.
Correct.
Thank you for your expertise.